Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us as we talk all things faith, family, and fitness. A special thanks to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their support of Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community one family at a time. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merrill and Linda Hutchinson today, getting ready to bring you another wonderful show under the confines of COVID-19.
Woo.
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
How you doing, babe?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're doing fine,
Holding up okay?
Yeah. Today, we're going to try to have some fun, but try to also talk about some serious issues of how we're walking through in our marriage during this COVID-19, during our quarantine time, during our shut-in.
How our marriages are holding up.
Well, it is a big deal in the sense of, you and I have seen this. We have 3 kids at home. Not only are they in our business and each other's business, but now we are in their business. We are in each other's business. Everybody's in each other's business.
Yeah.
And, there is something to be said for having a little space. And again, we've seen some good things come out of this time, but we've also just gotten on each other's nerves a little bit.
Yeah, and that reminds me, hon, on a serious note, this was actually on the front page of the local paper recently about safe passages and the rise of domestic violence and issues in the home because everybody is under stress. They're under each other's noses day in, day out. And so we do see a rise in that. And so we don't want to take that lightly. If you are experiencing some serious issues in your home and your marriage and your family, please reach out for help. Safe Passages is one of those for women, at least, that if they're in a time of crisis to get some help. But we're really going to have some fun today with the lighter side of just getting on each other's nerves and maybe...
Aren't we? Aren't we?
No, wait a second. Don't put words in my mouth.
So is there anything about me that has been irritating you during this trying time?
Are you throwing me a softball?
Be polite now. Be polite.
Be kind. No, I actually was talking about this the other day, and we have been working together with Rock Solid Families for the last 18 months, and so that has definitely been a transition for us because we were working in 2 different nonprofits and different offices and space, so we've had to adjust to that already. So I don't think that adjustment's been tough because we would work together, go home and eat lunch together, stuff like that. It's just the dynamic of everybody being home and, on different routines and schedules. So I will say that the drywall mess has been something that I'm learning to adjust to, your project in the basement.
We are finishing our basement right now as we do have a little bit of time. And I apologize, but it's just...
I know. You're working day and night.
Right. It's just part of that.
There's little dust,
I
footprints
know.
all over
I feel bad
because
you just finished cleaning the floor, and then I'm like, I have to go upstairs.
I know. The only good thing is that we're in quarantine. No one's in and out of our house, so I really, we're the only ones seeing it. So it's actually, I'm just letting it go.
Yeah.
It was that old, the Frozen movie, just let it go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I probably, and I said this kind of right off the top of the show, the thing that has been, I don't know if they're bothersome or just like, I've been noticing it more is just how much we're in each other's business. And, our kids bicker back and forth at each other, and it's because they always kind of have to weigh in on how each other's doing everything.
Did you turn off the light?
Yeah, and they want to catch each other. But I also find you and I doing that as well. Like every time we see the kids doing something wrong, just because we're around it so much more. And so school is a healthy break in the sense that the kids are away from us. We're away from them. And, our kids are going to make mistakes. They're not everybody's going to be perfect. But when you're constantly around each other, you see it more. And because of that, you say things. And it just, sometimes like, oh, geez. it's just nitpicky stuff.
Did you see the video I shared the other day on Facebook of the two little doggies that were sitting, they were laying next to each other.
Yeah.
And then it was like they'd come and they're like, yeah. And then they'd like go on their own separate little pillows.
But they keep looking kind of at each other like who's going to go next. But two bickering dogs.
It was like, is that your marriage right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, hey, let's say thanks to our sponsors, and then let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about today. So we want to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency. They have built a reputation in business on caring, listening, and protecting their customers. Mansfield Insurance Agency began back in 1981 by the founder, Jim Mansfield, and he has been dedicated to serving the individuals and businesses in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So if you have an insurance need, contact Mansfield Insurance Agency at 800-230-3927.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Mansfield has just been awesome. He just recently called us just to see how we were doing and if there's anything we needed. So we really appreciate Mansfield Insurance Agency and Jim Mansfield, as well as Maxwell Construction. It was founded by John Maxwell in 1988, and since that time, Maxwell Construction has grown and expanded to be one of the most recognized construction companies commercially in the tri-state area. And so whether it's a school or a hospital, restaurant, or apartment building, please, Maxwell Construction is able to meet your needs. Call them today at 812-537-2200.
Great sponsors that are great community people. Enjoy both of those families. So, all right. So let's get in and let's start talking. We better talk about some of the announcements pertaining to kind of how we're doing business right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So in saying that, during this time, you've heard more people reaching out this way, but this is a time that we would like to just ask all of you, get out there and support your local businesses. I know we're on a limited, restricted travel, but if you have an opportunity to go to a drive out, or a pickup, a carry out. I think carry out is what I was looking for. A carry out, whatever, to pick up some local restaurant food. Do that. Whatever we can to help keep these businesses moving is so important, because the disease part is bad. The lack of the economic engine could be potentially even worse, and could be potentially more long-term damaging to people's welfare if we're not careful. So get out there and frequent your local business however you can.
And us, we know as a nonprofit, we've lost half our revenue stream from just our lack of classes and our face-to-face coaching sessions. And so, if you feel in your heart that you want to support something that's trying to reach out in the community, we would love your support at Rock Solid Families. You can go to our website, rocksolidfamilies.org, and click the donate button. That would just help us, because, we are offering free coaching sessions, virtual, whether it be on the phone or video chat, to anyone right now, because we know that there's people in need. We know there's stress and crisis going on in homes. So we just want to be that resource. We feel like God has positioned us for such a time as this. And so we don't want to hold that back from anybody that may be needing it. So if you want to support us and what we're trying to do for the community, we'd love to have your support.
We need your support. Yeah. Another thing is, don't forget about some of the things that can help keep you healthy and strong. It's easy to get into those non-routine kind of things. You break the routine, whether it's laying in bed a little bit longer or whatever. But we encourage you to take care of yourself. Stay in shape. The weather is starting to change. We're getting some nicer days. Get out and work out a little bit. Exercise. Make that a point. We've been doing our family workout. So even though we're not allowed to be around other people, our kids, we do go back up into our gym at Rock Solid Families, and we get the whole crew up there, all five of us, and go through at least 3 days a week, a kind of a structured workout. And again, the kids just shook their head the first couple of days, but now I thought our little one was just ready to blow a vessel the other day. He was working out so hard.
Well, besides, now they can check it off their list for e-learning too. Like, this is their PE class. So for all those PE teachers out there, our kiddos are getting their exercise that they're supposed to. So, we want you to really keep your mind, body, and spirit head on straight, keep that time with the Lord, that's what's really going to give us that peace that passes all understanding. If this is not your thing, if you really haven't been entrenched in God's word, now is the time, because like never before, we need him, and we need prayer. We need his direction from his word. So make sure you tap into that.
Yeah. And finally, the last thing, crisis challenges do one of two things. They show us our worst side and they show us our best side, depending on what our intention is. And we have to be mindful of that. And so we see people who can be nasty and rude during these times, but we see people who go out of their way just being, we had somebody deliver toilet paper to our house.
That was such a sweet thing.
That was Dave Deddens.
Well,
and the fact that, I don't know how he found out that we were running low, but that was pretty cool.
Maybe it was because I posted a picture of the toilet paper I bought up at the Sunoco gas station. Steve Sunoco, God love Steve. He's selling toilet paper for us. And our kiddos text and said, we're out of toilet paper. And so I'm like, oh, crud. Because I've been trying to find it and buy it, but I just haven't been able to find it anywhere. So God love, there were several people, hun, that literally messaged me or reached out and said, I have some. If you
That's
need
kind of
some.
Embarrassing. No more putting that stuff out on Facebook.
Okay, well, I wasn't like asking for toilet paper. I was showing the fact that I bought toilet paper at the gas station.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right, Dave Deddens, God love him, our Skyline man. He didn't even ask. He just dropped off a whole thing of toilet paper to our house. The kids are like, "Hey, look, we got toilet paper today." But that's just the cool things that are happening in our community. I just love it.
So be nice to people.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, let's set the show up here. And talk about how we're getting along and how we're going to get the best out of getting along during this time. Okay? So, hon, we used to be fans of the show Survivor.
We did.
And I say used to, but we kind of wore out of it. You know, I'm not saying it's good or bad or anything. I'm just saying it exhausted us. Yeah, okay. But when we first started watching that show, how many years ago, there really wasn't a script or anything. It was just like, well, let's take these folks out and see how well they do. And one of the things that you noticed is they started to do something that was essential to keeping them on the island or surviving. Okay, remember what they did?
Yeah, they formed alliances.
That's right. Now, nobody told them, hey, it would be a good idea if you formed this alliance. And actually, it took a while. The first season was kind of, it wasn't as strong in the alliances, but all of a sudden, show after show, everybody got the picture.
Well, because you watched the show and you figured out that's the only way you're going to survive.
You've got to form alliances. And so the question, is like, well, why do we need these alliances? And so that is really the crux of where we're going today. You may be in a challenging time in your home, in your work. The house setting might be crazy. But right now, if you don't figure out how you're going to work with people, if you don't form strong alliances, you will destroy or destruct at least yourself and your home environment.
That makes me think, they used to get those different color bandanas.
Yeah.
Well, heck, that's the only thing I'm thinking of right now for our masks that we were supposed to be wearing. I mean, I don't have a mask. We don't have masks. So I've been literally thinking maybe we should get those bandanas out and make them into a mask.
Don't let them use the toilet paper as a bandana.
Exactly.
That's valuable stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, that's how you identify the different teams, right? With those bandanas.
Yeah. And so, when the people were first put on the island, everybody kind of had a honeymoon period. And I just kind of equate that to when our kids first found out that school was closed. They were like, "Oh, this is so cool!
Yeah,
this is awesome!"
Yeah, I play outside.
And you were crying, I think, when we first heard.
But not literally.
But it was like the kids were all excited, and they started to kind of think like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And it just took probably just a couple of days, and within a week, all of a sudden, you started to feel the tension that was starting to build. And you and I recognize that, and we've tried to put some things into place, like the structure and the routines, and just constantly advocating for treating each other nicely and that kind of thing. But the bottom line is, if we don't learn to get along, we're going to have trouble.
Yeah, I think they realized once all the friend options were off the table, and going to the mall or trampoline park was off the table, it was like, oh, this is it. So we're going to have to make do, or we're going to be miserable.
Yeah. One of the things that we've been talking about on various shows and some of our writing is how are your kids going to remember this event? And one of the things I'd like to point out today is the idea that your kids are going to remember this event a lot on how you cast this event,
Yep.
on how you are behaving, how you and your spouse are behaving towards each other. If there is brokenness, if there's tension, if there's anger, if we're biting and nagging on each other all the time through these times, that's what your kids are going to remember.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're going to have bad days. We've had bad days.
Yeah.
But if overall you've handled this from a point of view of, okay, we're in this together and we're going to make the best of it, and we're not going to be a victim to the circumstances. We're going to be victorious over it, and we're going to let really God lead the way. So it's your call.
Yeah. So let's go through and let's talk about some different things that we need to do between husband and wife to lead our family well, to survive and then thrive during this time. Mm-hmm. And these are not things that you're going to do just one time. You go, okay, I got it, I'm done. These are, like you said, these are daily practice things, because right. You're going to have things that you fall short on, or just different irritations that come up, and you're going to have that blow apart day or moment. And so, but these are some things that will help you get back on track, especially with your spouse. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the first things is the idea of trust. When we talk about trust, we're talking about the idea of trusting that everybody has each other's back. Mm-hmm. All right. That even though we're not going to be perfect, that we're there to try to help each other. And our word is our word. We can trust each other with that.
But that's hard, hon, if there's been some betrayal and mistrust in the past. And so that's when sometimes you really have to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to leave that in the past for now, because this is kind of a crisis moment, and I'm going to really give it a try again and to see how we can repair and restore that relationship. Even if there has been some betrayal. Again, I'm not saying you put your head in the sand or put your blinders on, but are you really going to hold on to that hurt right now in this time where you really need each other?
Yeah. And so now's not a time to do things that would add to breaking trust. Sure. Let's try to keep life simple at this moment, and not compound it with other crazy decisions and things like that.
Yeah. Common intentions. It's important to know the intentions of your spouse. Sometimes when we are in such close quarters, we're easily offended or hurt. Like you said, that drywall dust, you weren't intentionally trying to mess up my clean floor. I mean, you're working your tail off in that basement in the evenings and weekends. And so I'm not going to go in thinking you did this to hurt me on purpose. Mm-hmm. So really, what was their intention? Or am I just being oversensitive and pretty stressed out right now?
Yeah, the other day, Zach called me, our older son, and I was out driving or something, and I was talking with him, and I did my thing and came home, and I forgot to tell you. Mm-hmm. And later that day, I said, hey, I talked to Zach, and you had already messaged Zach that you wanted to talk to him.
Well, you're not just talking about a child in another state. You're talking about the fact that he was on deployment out of the country.
Right.
And I was waiting to make sure he got home safe.
Yeah, but I had totally forgotten.
Yeah.
And you were upset that I didn't tell you. And I was like, yeah, hon, I didn't have any ill intention with that. Right. I wasn't like trying to hold that back from you. I forget my name.
Well, and also it made me look pretty stupid, because I'm going, hey, Zach, are you back in the country yet? And he's probably thinking, I just talked to Dad about a couple hours ago. So, yeah.
But the intention behind things, because otherwise, if we're super sensitive during this already sensitive time, it just compounds the problem. So, don't take everything to heart. You got to roll with it and move on.
Communication is another one. Check in on your spouse, not just with their words. I just had a client the other day, hon, whose husband is working 18, 19-hour days, and literally they don't even have a chance to say anything to each other. And I told her, I said, I still want you to check in and say, how are you doing? Mm-hmm. How are you really doing? Yeah. Because he's probably exhausted. He's probably overwhelmed. She's at home frustrated because she's home all day with the kids, but he's probably overwhelmed too. So it really is important that you at least check in, take the temperature of the relationship and of them and their emotional state.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time in terms of when we're dealing with couples. And if you are getting all wrapped around the words that your spouse is saying, you probably are going to lose the message, because the message is oftentimes the look in the face, the body posture, the tone. You know that even if I have a good day, but I've just been working outside all day, and you start throwing a lot of words at me, I'm not responding, but it's not that I've had a bad day. It's just because I'm tired.
Right.
Okay.
Or I remember when I was a stay-at-home mom and you would come home and you would say, how was your day? And I'd be like, it was all right. And you would just look at me a little bit extra and you'd say, was it? Was it okay? And I'd start to cry. Yeah. And he was like, okay, I'm guessing that wasn't such a great day. And so you were reading my heart, not just my words.
Yeah, and it just goes a long way. And it also goes a long way with your kids. Mm-hmm. We have noticed that our kids are struggling with from day to day or time to time during this moment. And sometimes we want to bark at them for doing different things or not doing different things. And sometimes it's very helpful for us to look at their posture, look at who they are in their moment, because they're a person as well. And maybe their day's just been a total bummer. Mm-hmm. And now we're jumping their case because they didn't pick their shoes up or something. I'm not saying their shoes shouldn't be picked up. What I'm saying is read their language first and understand maybe there's a different or better way to approach it.
Right. Another one is giving space, and that kind of goes along with it, that in this time where we are really quarantined with each other and we're isolated from other people and other things, maybe you kind of limit the, interaction, that you give each other some space. Maybe you allow each other to go out for a run or a walk or go in their room and read alone. We got to give ourselves freedom. We got to give each other freedom and allow them some time just to kind of decompress, a timeout, so to speak. We talk about that a lot. And so we got to do that with our kids, our spouse. We need that, even if we're under the same roof.
Yeah, when I think about giving space too, obviously the physical part of giving space and getting off by yourself is something that I value. But I think sometimes... and this is what I see our kids struggling with, and you and I can struggle with it. This was our first 3 months of being in Rock Solid Families working together. This was where we struggled because we need space on the intellectual side, the decision-making side. If everything you do, I weigh in on, all right, in other words, I'm questioning you or giving you my opinion, or everything that I do, you weigh in on. It's exhausting.
Yep.
And it's like, listen, just trust that I'm going to do it my way. And so I think we not only need to give people physical space, we need to give them space in terms of their decision making, their thoughts. Let them go. We don't need to correct and talk and just constantly give them what we would do, because that's exhausting to people. Let them have that space.
Right. I think there also needs to be a level of forgiveness right now, a grace extended, because we're going to mess up. You must avoid holding on your spouse as hostage with your anger, frustration, or disappointment. Like I said, my one client whose husband was working his butt off. Yeah. It's really hard not to be tired yourself and feeling like you're doing all this alone at home. But we've talked about this before. Not forgiving your spouse is like drinking the poison and waiting for the other person to die. And so it's really important.
That won't work, will it?
No. And so it backfires. So it really is important not to hang on to that unforgiveness.
Another thing that this is, we've talked about this, the idea of celebrating the small things. And so in this silly, goofy, crazy time, and even dangerous times, that you got to find the small celebrations.
This isn't where you're going to talk about how you finished the puzzle.
I have not finished a puzzle completely by myself, because everybody else is just
But every time you put a piece in, you're like, ta-da!
Oh, yeah. Ta-da! I mean, I celebrate every piece. On a 1,000-piece puzzle, woohoo!
But here's the deal. You are not even a puzzle person. You didn't even like puzzles.
That's how sick this is.
And we've done 3.
That's how sick this is.
I know. But that's really been the cool thing. You're going outside and playing horse with the boys, and doing a little victory dance when you win the game.
Which that doesn't happen anymore either. But
I know. It's kind of tough.
So just taking some time to celebrate each other. Celebrate some fun. Laugh.
Right.
That's so important. Humor is what we find in marriages in challenging times. Humor is some of the best medicine. I think sometimes we all just think we're all pretty top-notch, top-dog, serious people. Like, we've got to do things our way and that
really?
kind of stuff.
Is that? I don't think that at all.
Well, I mean, when we get locked in on what we want to do, when we get locked in on what
That's a control issue for me.
Well,
it's not that I feel like I'm top dog. I just
no, but it's we're gonna do it my way, and so the whole idea that there's just different ways, you got to laugh at yourself, and that's tough because when I'm locked in on something that I want to do or the right way in my mind, then
we've never had that.
Yeah, I know. I
think it was earlier today.
I think
unity is so important, huh? We got to focus on unity.
That's right. Pull it together.
Yeah.
Pull it together.
Yeah.
And again, you kind of mentioned this word before. We could live in a world that was judged by rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts. And if we did, in the eyes of God, none of us would survive because none of us can do to God's best nature. We're not made to do that. We're flawed. And for that reason, God provides us with grace. And so I think the underpinning of all of this is just that whole idea of being able to supply grace. And we can show that by second chances, by forgiveness, by humor, by giving space, by listening. That grace is essential to us living another day and not surviving, but thriving.
Yeah.
And so, we really have got to keep that when we are all about us, switching it to saying, I've just got to give that grace to other people.
Yeah. We don't want to be divided.
Yeah. So Psalm 133:1 says, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity.
Yeah.
And it's just so simple. I think God hates every part of our rebelliousness towards him and towards others. And he wants us to be together.
I thought you were going to share another verse. Better to live on a corner of a roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. Proverbs 21:9. Or Proverbs 21:19, a little bit later, says, better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. So I'm trying not to be that. So I'm glad you didn't go down that road.
No, I'm not that dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
So, through this challenging, this trial, sometimes we'll see some ugly stuff, especially within our family. But I think it's a reminder that we want to temper ourselves within the family. The family is the greatest resource you have right now outside of God. These are the people that you need. These are the people that you want to make sure things are working with you in the right way. And so pull it together, all right? Understand when you've got emotions and tiredness and frustrations, when those are bubbling up, understand them. Put them in their proper place. Don't let those things dictate how your relationship's going to go.
Yeah. But, hon, I've seen many of the couples that we've worked in the past, they've been calling and texting me to say that the tools that we've given them, they're working. And they finally had the time and the focus to put them into practice.
Yeah.
All the other distractions and all the attention-grabbing things like work and sports, and they've all been stripped away in their marriage. And so this quarantine time, this isolation time has actually really been good for a lot of families and couples.
Yeah, and that's something we're celebrating when you see, hey, there's some cool stuff here, okay?
Yeah.
So God wants your marriage to be stronger than ever. He wants you guys to survive and thrive in this, and so we want to encourage that to be the case. We want your kids someday when they're telling their kids, back in 2020 when we went through COVID-19, we want them to tell stories of just passion and awesomeness that they survived through it and they found great things with it. So that lays in our hands right now to make sure those kind of stories are going to be built.
Yeah. So let's talk, hon, as we wrap up about our challenge for this week. What do we want couples, what do we want families to walk away with through this time of crisis, through this really unsettling period in our lives that we will never forget? You're right. Our kids, our marriages, families are going to remember this time. And what are they going to remember? So what do we want to leave them with?
So I think this is just as we've been doing around the dinner table at night, a huddle, which is basically an opportunity for the kids to talk about different questions, and they're talking at a level of depth that's deeper than the casual conversation. Yeah. They're saying things that they normally don't say. I think we can do that in our marriages as well. That quiet time, maybe it's before we go to bed at night or whatever, when we're just kind of laying in bed, and to take that time to say something good or attractive about your spouse, about your partner, something that you've sort of either assumed or just ran with for many years. But when was the last time I said this? And so to tell each other what you love about them, what you're attracted to, and just tell them why they are the person that you want to be in this storm with.
Yeah, hun, and I would just challenge couples out there who are listening to this. We've talked about this before, but praying together as a couple is the number one thing you can do to solidify your marriage and to strengthen it. It is like the super glue, the gorilla glue of your marriage. Less than 1% of couples who pray together on a regular basis divorce. And so that is something powerful that you can do today. It doesn't cost you money, especially if you're home together all day. Find that quiet time. We do it. We've been doing it for a couple decades now, and we do it before bed. We get in bed together at the same time. You pray out loud for me, for our kids, for our grandkids, for our in-laws. We do that, and then I do the same. And really, I hear your heart, I hear your soul in that, and that's just intimate. It's so powerful, and it binds us together.
It doesn't make us perfect. It makes us humble. It makes us willing to be worked on. And I think that's the important part, because there's not a day that goes by that we don't have the same issues that every other couple with just challenges, or God forbid, I might frustrate you a little bit or something like that.
Never.
But that idea that you fall to your knees, or you surrender, not just to God, but to your spouse. We're to submit to each other.
Yeah.
All right. We better close things up. So how about let's thank again our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for supporting and sponsoring Rock Solid Radio. Without them, this is not possible. So we thank them for what they do to help support our mission. Hun, anything that you want to say?
Well, we just want to thank you again for listening to Rock Solid Radio, especially during this time. We are praying for you. We are here to help you, and we're here to build a stronger community, one family at a time. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard on today's show, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. If you have questions you'd like answered on our show, or you want to chime in on something you heard, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time.